Hi, everybody. I did not preview this one, so there may be some false starts, but I'm going to go as fast as I can, give you some insight. Uh, Pause the video, or if you're using an Edpuzzle, make sure you answer the question as you go. You might want to pay attention. Which of the following solutions to the equation x plus 10 equals 3? Pretty clear what this one is. They're going to get a little bit harder as we go along. You subtract 10 from both sides, of course, to solve for x. Some people would say it's just as easy to just simply ask the question, what number plus 10 equals negative 3? In this case, of course, we get negative 7. And we can be absolutely sure. And we move on. Long statement with a really short, probably a shorter answer. Anyway, it says she spent $150 for supplies, so I assume that that's the total amount already. So I could probably eliminate these two. I'm not absolutely sure, but probably. It says that she charges 25 for each lawn she mows. And I'm guessing that X is the number of lawns she mows, and that's what it says right there. So 25 is called the slope. For every lawn she mows, her price goes up $25. Jacqueline made $50 after the costs of supply and gas was deducted. Which equation represents this situation where X is the number of lawns Jacqueline mowed during the first week? I was wrong. It looks like $50 was the answer. So we need to be careful of assuming. It says that she spent $150 for supplies, and after it was deducted, she made $50. So this was her profit. It says, which equation represents the situation where X is the number of lawns? And we're looking at A, which is probably correct. Didn't mean to trick you, but we need to read the question carefully. And I just made an assumption, and bad idea. Like I said, I didn't preview these. This one looks like a system of equations. We literally have two lines here. These are linear equations, and they're going to intersect at their intersection. Now, the best way to solve this is to do substitution. I put this equation in for y over here. So I'm going to write 18x plus 25 is equal to negative 14x minus 7. And then I'm going to solve this equation. I want to get x's on one side, numbers on the other. So probably the easiest is to add the 14x to both sides. Now, I normally would subtract the 25 at the same time. Some people get confused, so I'm going to go ahead and do this addition. This is going to be 32x plus 25 is equal to negative 7. Now, normally I would have just subtracted the 25 in the same line up here. Subtract 25 from both sides, and it sure looks like we get 32x is equal to negative, certainly looks like 32, doesn't it? And then we divide by 32, and we get our answer. Now, our answer is for x, not y. And then we still have to find the value of y when x is the answer that you get here. Shall I finish it? No, it's too easy. You go ahead and finish it and solve it for yourself. I'm sure you can finish it from there. This one is called a literal equation sometimes. We're taking a formula with just variables in it, and we want to solve for a. We want to get a by itself. Now, sometimes this can get really difficult. In this particular case, it's really not that hard. So we have ax minus y is equal to bxy, where we want to get the a by itself. Well, think about how you would do that if you wanted to solve a normal equation with numbers. You have to get rid of the negative y, and then you have to get rid of the x. One way to do that is to add y to both sides, and I'll do it in 2 steps. I normally wouldn't even bother, but AX then is equal to BXY plus Y. You can't add these two things because they're not like terms. You could factor out the Y, but you don't need to. Your last step is to divide by X, and then you get your answer. It looks like it's there, and you can move on because we have A by itself. Number 5, this is a function, and it says this function models the height of a football t seconds after it's kicked. This is actually in meters per second squared. This is the effect of gravity on the football. And the 10 is the effect of the kick upward. This is the upward force on the kick. What is the interpretation of h of 2? Well, recognize that 2 is the time in seconds, t seconds. So 2 is 2 seconds, and we want this to be 0.40 is the height after 2 seconds. And you can find it on there. This is going to be the height of the football after 2 seconds. It's probably going to go up and then come back down again. Anyway, solve it for yourself. Number 6, these marks mean absolute value. Now, I'm going to show you something that I do when I teach absolute value equations. The first thing is I want to get the absolute value by itself. Now, what you could do is you could substitute in these numbers and see which one is true. But I just want to show you something. So I've got 15 minus x minus 9 is equal to 0. So my first step, is that a 15? Yeah, it's supposed to be 15 minus x. Sorry, it looks a little funky there. Add 9 to both sides. My red pen. Add 9 to both sides, and we get the absolute value of 15 minus x is equal to 9. Now, hopefully you know that the whole idea of absolute value is that you take any number and make it positive. So if the number under my, or if the value under my finger is equal to 9, then that's true. But it's also true for negative 9. And so whatever's under my finger could be 9, or it could be negative 9. And you need to solve 15 minus x for both parts. 15 minus x could be the positive 9. That would give me 9 for an absolute value. But it could also be that 15 minus x could be negative 9. I guess I'll write it over here. Either one of these could be true. Sorry, got it out of the way here. I need to solve this one for x, and I need to solve this one for x. It's almost easier to just substitute in the numbers and see which one works. But I'm going to go ahead and solve them. You subtract 15 from both sides. Probably easier to add x to both sides. Add x, and then we subtract the 9 to get the x by itself. So 15 minus 9 is 6. That's one of my solutions. Do the same thing with this one and find your other solution. We want the positive 6, so these two are out. You have one more solution. Add the x, and then add the 9 to both sides, and you'll get your answer. Number 7, let's see. I guess I can read it like this. Lucia and John worked together to make 60 paper flowers for a school party. The line shown represents the possible combinations of time in hours spent by Lucia and John to fulfill this task. So in other words, if Lucia worked by herself, it would take her 12 hours to make the 60 flowers. If John worked by himself, it would take him 14 and a half hours to make the 60 flowers. That seems reasonable. Guys are going to take longer. According to the graph, on average, how many paper flowers will Lucia make per hour? Well, she can make the 60 flowers in 12 hours. Now, what's nice is you could literally go anywhere on this graph where there's an open number. For example, it looks like this one is right on the 10, for him and 4 for her. Oh, no, you can't. You have to go all the way to here. Sorry, my bad. Anyway, there it is. She makes 60 flowers in 12 hours, so figure out how many she makes per hour, per 1 hour. You're going to have to reduce this. I was thinking I could cheat on it a little, but you can't. You got to go to the absolute y-intercept. All right. This is an exponential function, that has been translated up 1 unit. Now, the trick is that a lot of people get confused about that. The reason that I say it's translated up 1 unit is that any number to the 0 power is 1. And then as you get negative exponents, they get smaller and smaller and smaller. So this is a standard, what do you want to call it? A little slow today. Reciprocal function, or y equals 1 over x. This is an equation here where, y equals 2 to the x. There we go, dummy. Not a reciprocal function, it's an exponential function. Y equals 2 to the x would be right here on this red one. As you can see, x to the 0 power equals 1, x to the first power equals 2, because 2 to the first is 2, and x to the second power equals 4, which I was a little off. I didn't quite get it steep enough here. There we go. Now it's a little steeper. You can see it gets steeper as it goes. X to the negative 1 equals 1/2, and so on. Now, the problem with this one is that it's been translated up 1 unit. So you have to modify this, because that function up here is not displayed correctly. It's been, the red one is the y equals 2 to the x power. And we translated it up 1 unit. All right, number 9. This one is looks like a standard circle graph, maybe. Could be a circle. It says it's a circle. What is the perimeter of the square? Wow, there is so much here. If the circle's inscribed in a square, wow. I don't see any easy way to do this. You have to know a lot, I think, to be able to solve this. I'm going to see if there's another way, but I don't think so. Y squared minus 6y, and then I'm going to add the 47. If you've never seen standard form circles, this isn't going to make much sense to you. What you have to do here is complete the square and complete the square, and that'll give you your radius squared. So if I complete the square here, this is x minus 5 squared. And so the negative 5 times the negative 5 is the plus 25. If I add 25 to this side, I have to add 25 to this side. This is called completing the square and applying it to a special situation with a standard form circle equation. Anyway, this one is y minus 3 squared. So this number is plus 9. That's going to complete our square. And when we add these together, you get 9 and 25 and 47. We're going to add all this together. That's going to give you 1, carry the 2. That's going to be 81. Okay, so if I were to read this function right here, this is called a standard form circle equation, where we have x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. R is the radius, k is the y value of the center, and h is the x value of the center. Anyway, it's centered at hk, and it has a radius of r. If the circle is inscribed in a square and its radius is 9, because r squared is 81, so the radius of the circle is 9, then that's the radius of the circle. It means that if you take a square and you inscribe a circle inside of it with a radius of 9, it's 18 across. And 4 times 18, because we want the, they said they want the perimeter of the square, is 8 times 4 is 2, carry the 3. Looks like 72. And 72 is the perimeter of the square. A very, very difficult problem. I don't see any other easy way to do it. Which of the following, basically I would have guessed on this one and skipped it. Which of the following expressions is equivalent to a over 4 plus b over 3 squared? Well, let's see. What are they doing? Oh. Okay. They're squaring this thing, and they're multiplying it times itself. And, of course, a over 4 is the same as 1/4 a, and b over 3 is the same as 1/3 b. But I'm just going to leave it like this, plus b over 3. You have to multiply every term by every other term. This is going to give us the a squared over 16. So that's our first step. Now, we are going to get a middle term, so this one isn't right, and this one isn't right. This one isn't right, and we know that it has to be this one, and we could finish it up, but if you know that a squared over 16 has to be your first term, and you have to have a middle term, you know, sorry, I didn't show this one, that it has to be this one. I could finish it by multiplying these together and adding them, but I will get AB over 6, and then I am going to get the b squared over 9 at the end. Anyway, there is a shortcut for that one. Oh, this is what the Algebra 2 students are doing right now. This is a bit like dividing by 5, but you're doing it to the exponents in a way. Now, if you recognize that 32 is 2 to the 5th power, then you can kind of figure this out. This is to the 5th root of this, a to the 3rd, b to the 4th, and this is equivalent to 2 to the 5th, a to the 3rd, b to the 4th, all to the 1/5 power. And we're multiplying exponents. In this case, we're dividing by the root. So this would be 2 to the 1st. 5 times 1/5 is 1, or 5 divided by 5 is 1. A times 1, the exponent, 3 times 1/5 is 3/5. 3 divided by 5 is 3/5. This is the exponent on the A, and the B is, of course, 4 divided by 5, or 1/5 of 4, which is 4/5. And so this is our solution, and we can move on. Clearly, if you take a 5th root, you're not going to get the 32. You are going to get the 2, and this one is the one we're looking for right there. Anyway, we've got a cone, and it looks like a semicircle right here. So basically, here's our cone, and there's the center. Sometimes it helps to put a radius on it. There's a radius if that helps. So this is a semicircle, or hemisphere, hemisphere and a cone added together. It says, have bases of equal circumference and when connected at their bases as shown. The diameter of the base is 6, so the radius is 3. They said the diameter is 6. I would rather have the radius because it's easier to use with the formulas. And the height of this thing, I'll draw in the height here for you. This is the height of the cone. It says is 9 centimeters. Oh no, it says the total height is 9 centimeters. So this piece is 3, and the height of the cone is 6. Tricky little question there. So the height of the cone is 6. What is the total volume? So a couple of things you have to know. You have to know that the volume of a cone is 1/3 pi r squared h, which you have to know that's the volume of a cone. And you also have to know the volume of a sphere, which is 4/3 pi r cubed. This is only half of a sphere, so you're going to have to divide this by 2 or take half of it because it's only half of a sphere. Anyway, there it is. There's your equations. So I have volume equals of the cone is 1/3 times pi times 3 squared times the height of the cone, which is 6. This 3 cancels with one of these. So the volume of the cone is 18 pi. Now we want the hemisphere. So I'm going to take 4/3 times pi times 3 cubed. And then I have to take half of it because it's only half of a sphere. So now, I'm going to move this over here a little bit. This 3 cancels with one of these to give me 3 squared, and the 2 cancels with the 4 to give me 2. So I've got 9 times 2 is 18 times pi. Interesting. These have equal volumes, and when you add them together, you get 36 pi. And there it is, B. Really, really kind of a tough problem there. Let's see. Not as hard as the circle one, though. One of these 2 linear systems and equations in a system is given. The system has exactly one solution. Which equation could be the second equation in this system? Oh, it has exactly one solution. Okay. One of the things they're asking about is you can't have parallel lines in a system of any way. They can't be parallel or equal. Now, it just so happens that if I multiply by -4 by this equation, I get this. Negative 8x plus 8y. This A has the same slope as this one, so they are parallel. If I had gotten -8 over here, then they would be the exact same equation, and I'd have an infinite number of solutions. This is not correct. Now, this one's a little hard to see, but the same idea occurs. If I subtract 3x and divide by -3, I'm going to get a +1 slope, just like I do for this one. Maybe I should show that. 2x minus 2y equals 2. So if I subtract the 2x from both sides, hopefully some of you understand what I'm doing. I have -2y is equal to -2x plus 2. Then I divide by -2. You see, this gives me a +1 for my slope, 1x minus 1. This is the equation in slope-intercept form. Well, this equation, if I subtract the 3x and divide by -3, I get a slope of 1. So this one is out. In this one, if I add the x and divide by 1, or just add the x, oh my goodness, it is the exact same equation that's here. This has an infinite number of solutions, so that one is out. This one has no possibility of having the same slope as this one. So there is only one solution. I would have been able to do this equation or this problem very quickly because I know that these two numbers are different and there's no way that that's going to have a slope of 1. And this one does have a slope of 1. So I would have been able to find it very quickly. Anyway, a lot of stuff there. Hopefully some of it makes sense for you. And I will see you back again sometime. Bye.